Go. So my name is Brady, and I'll be analyzing a scene from the 1980s Martin Scorsese film entitled Raging Bull, which is about Jake LaMotta, a middleweight champion who loses it all. And background to the scene is, just before this scene, Jake LaMotta had thrown a fight for the Mafia, which hurt him psychologically because he's a very prideful man and he wanted to do it all by himself, but sadly he couldn't and he had to give in. And right before the scene, Vicky is his girlfriend, his wife, who he's been questioning her loyalty to him. And it's just like an ongoing thing throughout the film. So let's get right into it. We see Jake laying down on the bed, a full shot of him, and you see his reflection in the mirror, which is a common motif used throughout the film. And it can signify him reflecting on his decisions up until this point in time. So right now he's in the reflection. His brother Joey is trying to bring him back to life, but he hasn't. And as soon as he sees Tommy, which is the mafia boss that he threw the fight for, he snaps back into reality, jumps off the bed, and walks to him. So Martin Scorsese filmed this movie very simply. Most of the shots are just common, simple shots, except for the fight scenes, which are more intricate. So we see how Jake is kind of removed from the whole background because he's in the foreground giving his back to the camera while you can see everybody else's face in the clip. And as they move forward, you can kind of start seeing Vicky more in more focus, and she was surrounded by men, which you'll see again after this little brief conversation. She's surrounded by men, showing that she's popular, which for Jake is of course a problem. So you see Tommy, asking him how he's feeling. You see Jake reacting. He's talking to him. The look on his face is very disillusioned with Tommy and the whole situation that he had to do the fight. He doesn't want to be there in the room. He doesn't even want to be talking to Tommy.
I feel as good as I'm feeling. I came in there and fighting almost perfect. We just combined it with shit like that.
A lot of over-the-shoulder shots happening.
You should, but I don't think.
That's more of a close-up than an over-the-shoulder. So now we see Tommy's leaving, that little pat on the arm.
Yeah. Still got it, everybody. Thank you, goodbye.
Tommy, wait.
As soon as you hear Vicky's voice, you see Jake react. He puts his arm behind his back as if waiting for some kind of altercation to happen, some kind of escalation, which is very common for Jake because he's a very angry person.
Yeah.
And now you see Jake watch Vicky walk to Tommy. And this right here is Jake's point of view, seeing it.
So,
You see Jake's reaction to that kiss on the cheek, which really is harmless, but to him, it's messing with him. It's getting him angry, it's getting him upset. And you can see that in his face. Now you start seeing Jake's point of view. If you notice right before this shot, you saw his eyes go down. So this is Jake's point of view, which is done in slow motion to show a heightened sense of awareness because it's building tension for him. It's getting him angry, it's getting him upset. You see a lot of hands. You see Joey's hand, kind of caress. Then you see the kiss between them and Joey smiling as in an approval. She's smiling after that, all the compliments and the kiss on the cheek, the face.
hello, everybody.
And now, Tommy has said so long, so Jake snaps back into reality once again, gives him that fake smile.
Come on, Tommy.
And now right here, you see Vicky sitting down on the couch, and her pattern on her dress or jumper matches the exact same pattern on the sofa. And because it's filmed in black and white, the same color is used, it's the same shade of gray, which kind of signifies how Vicky could be a piece of furniture or a chair that Jake can use to sit on whenever he wants.
Okay. Hey, come in. Come in.
So we see Jake calling her very sternly, come here, come here. And you can tell by her reaction that it's not a good thing. And we see that the camera zooms in past her, or tracks past her, which can kind of show her sense of fear, oh my God, what's about to happen now? As she's walking towards Jake. And the same thing is happening with Joey, but instead of Joey being fearful for himself, Joey's fearful for Vicky because he knows what's gonna happen. He knows his brother's temper. So the same exact kind of shot happens. And we see here also the man sitting in the mirror, which again is a common motif throughout the film. As Jake is talking, you're gonna see him shaking his head slightly, which can kind of show like a reaction to what Jake is being said, or what Jake is saying, or what Jake is questioning her about. It's a very subtle shade.
You say something.
Say goodbye.
You don't need to, you say, I want you to say goodbye, that's all.
This smack is very important because it causes Joey to like react. At first he's standing in the distance, you know, just letting it happen. But as soon as that happens, he gets a little closer, you got me? So now he's like, oh my God, is this about to escalate, you know? So Jake is a very violent man. Of course, he's a boxer, so he's quick to throw the hands.
Respectfully, you hear what I said? You hear what I said?
Basically, the whole conversation is him trying to assert himself as a man, as her man, asserting that he needs that respect. Don't ever disrespect me, and which is a common thing throughout the film with Vicky.
All right, go in there.
So he sends her away, but then grabs her up, as if to say, you do what I say no matter what. Even if I say go left, you're gonna go right if I want you to go right.
Why'd you stop that?
Stop it. Shut up! Shut up! I'll fucking take care of you later. Shut up!
This right here is very important as well because it shows his dominance towards everybody in the room. Joey is his younger brother. You're supposed to respect and love your brother. But throughout this film, we see how Jake, although he does love and respect him, he still dominates over Joey because, as you can see, he's clearly telling him to shut up and that he'll deal with him after.
Discuss it with the Tories.
Vicky walks off, and we see Jake walk away from the camera with his back to the camera, showing his disconnect from Joey and Vicky, how he's over the situation. And here he shuts the door to go back into his own world, which was his room that the scene started in, and now he's gonna go psych himself up for the fight. And so yeah, that's my scene analysis. So this scene shows how Jake can go from 0 to 100 from literally any little escalation. Anything that has to do with Vicky will turn him up crazy, and he's a very violent guy. And Scorsese's use of like slow motion again gives that heightened sense of awareness. Any questions? Yes, no.
Do you think that the focus on hands could symbolize kind of intimacy or like that kind of like false kind of romance he's kind of seeing? Because he only does focus on their hands really and not really anything else.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a great thing to point out, and I think that is true because there's a scene where in the start of the film he's talking about his hands and how his hands are very small and he'll never get a championship. And the fact that he's constantly looking at people's hands can, especially with Vicky, show the intimacy, false intimacy, but also plays a psychological effect like, are his hands bigger than mine? Will she like his hands more than mine? You got me? Yes, Jason.
What role do the windows and curtains and shades play in this? If you want to rewind it.
No. Well, the windows themselves, I don't feel like they play much role, but the shades and all the curtains and the scenery, the background, can lend to how Vicky is blended in with the windows, shades, and all of that. And she is blended in through the couch. So I feel like what that's trying to say is Vicky has no real presence until Jake makes her have presence, if that makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
is the entire film shot in black and white?
It definitely is, and he does that to get that, well, there's actually a montage that's done in color, which is a home video, but most of the film is shot in black and white to give that gritty 1940s, 50s feel for the boxing's purpose, and because color might have been too distracting, there's somewhere that I read that Scorsese decided to do the black and white partly because the red of the gloves didn't match up with the red of the gloves back in those days. So it was all carefully thought out by Scorsese and his cinematographer.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you guys.